Russians push towards Myrnohrad from several directions, facing fierce Ukrainian resistance, with the battle looming in full force. Another darker reality in the Russian army came to light, as many soldiers risk being sent to their death by their commanders if they don't pay their way out. RFU News media outlet says the battle of Myrnohrad has intensified, with Russian forces attacking from multiple directions, attempting to penetrate inside the town and cut it off from the Ukrainian defensive network around Pokrovsk. The main Russian encirclement efforts come from the south, from Hrodivka, and from the north near Rodynske, while additional direct pressure mounts from Novoekonomichne, where constant skirmishes take place in the grey zone between the lines. Ukrainian soldiers on the ground report the situation as increasingly difficult, with artillery and drone fire saturating every approach. Yet, Ukraine continues to hold, with defenders maintaining positions in the southeast, high-rises, and the northeastern private sector. Small-scale Ukrainian counterattacks continue to push back Russian assault groups and infiltrators, often undersupplied, outnumbered, and outskilled in a direct one-on-one fight. RFU News says the Russians have deployed 27,000 soldiers in the Pokrovsk, Myrnohrad area, supported by around 360 armored vehicles and 160 artillery systems, with President Zelenski stating that Ukraine's defenders are outnumbered 8-1, but still resist. Russian efforts to enter Myrnohrad were confirmed by a Ukrainian spokesperson, but confirmed that Myrnohrad remains under Ukrainian control. Behind this staggering attrition lies a darker truth, as Russian generals have found ways to turn this massacre into profit. Investigations reveal widespread extortion and corruption across frontline units. RFU News says ordinary soldiers are forced to pay their commanders not to be sent on suicidal assaults into Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad. Those who cannot or refuse to pay are simply reset, a term used inside the Russian army for execution or deliberate death in a suicidal assault. Journalists have identified 101 Russian officers accused of extrajudicial killings and extortion, with over 12,000 complaints filed to the Russian Chief Military Prosecutor's Office since the invasion began. Yet, only 10 criminal cases have been opened and 5 convictions issued, a reflection of what soldiers describe as an unwritten ban on investigating field commanders. The reasons for being reset are disturbingly broad: refusal to storm Ukrainian positions, alcohol consumption, disobedience, or even minor arguments with superiors. Still, in many cases, it comes down purely to money. Soldiers who fail to pay extortion fees, often demanded for protection, better food, or basic leave, are sent to the front lines without fire support, communication, or even body armor. They are thrown into suicidal probing missions meant to expose Ukrainian firing positions, while others are executed behind the lines. The extent of atrocities is so large that one mobilized Russian soldier hinted that when the soldiers come back after the war, prison won't scare them anymore, and the officers will have to hide to avoid vengeance. RFU News reports. Overall, as the Ukrainian units continue to bleed the Russians around Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad, each meter of ground costs the Russians hundreds of dead, not only because of Ukrainian resistance, but also because of Russian corruption and cruelty. Generals enrich themselves while soldiers must pay with their last rubles or signing bonuses to avoid being sent to certain death. Still, the battle for Myrnohrad rages on, its outcome uncertain, but for some Russian officers, the war has become a profitable massacre, where human life is just another expendable commodity.
Ukraine launched overnight drone attacks on Russia-A energy infrastructure in southern Volgograd region on Saturday. The region's governor Andrei Bocharov confirmed the strike, stating that the air defense forces of the Russian Defense Ministry repelled a large-scale drone attack on energy infrastructure facilities in Volgograd. Bocharov further said that residents of 4 districts in Volgograd region near the Balashovskaya power substation had been left without electricity as a result of the attack. Video footage released in social media shows the moment of the attack. The resident shooting the video runs in panic following the air strike on the region. Last night's attack on Volgograd came amid Russia's massive air raids that led to power cuts across most Ukraine. Emergency power outages were introduced in a number of Ukrainian regions because of these attacks. It should be noted that Ukraine has scaled up attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure in an effort to undermine Moscow's war efforts. These strikes have focused on oil refineries, fuel depots, gas facilities, and power generation sites deep inside Russian territory. Kiev argues that disrupting Russia's ability to produce and transport fuel directly reduces the military's capacity to sustain offensive operations, especially as armored vehicles, missile systems, and logistics chains rely heavily on refined oil products. The attacks have been carried out through a combination of long-range drones and missiles, many of which are developed domestically to bypass Western restrictions on striking targets inside Russia with supplied weapons. According to Ukrainian estimates, long-range strikes on energy facilities have decreased Russia's oil refining capacity by over 20%.
На нахуй. Куда-то прям жестко.